Earlier today, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, during her testimony, she described in detail her alleged sexual assault by Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Now, first, I want to show you some of these videos because it is really powerful to actually hear her talk, to hear her speak about this. And she's going to start off by explaining why she's actually there at the hearing, why she decided, because again, this is not a criminal proceeding. This is her giving her sworn testimony in front of Congress to basically say why we should not, or why they should not allow the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to continue. So I'm going to go to her video here explaining why she's there and why she's speaking out. Let's take a look.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. I have described the events publicly before. I summarized them in my letter to Ranking Member Feinstein and again in a letter to Chairman Grassley. I understand and appreciate the importance of your hearing from me directly about what happened to me and the impact that it has had on my life and on my family.
Okay, so she's there, she says, because it is her civic duty. So understand that it's not just about what happened to her. It's about her saying, look, this person that is capable of doing such things as what I have alleged shouldn't be on the court, shouldn't be in such a high position. That's why I'm here today. And that's incredibly powerful. Now, I want to go to, and this is going to be a rather long video, but I want to play the whole thing to give you proper context into basically what happened, her version of events, and I'm going to play this for you and take a look.
During my time at the school, girls at Holton Arms frequently met and became friendly with boys from all boys schools in the area, including the Landon School, Georgetown Prep, Gonzaga High School, as well as our country clubs and other places where kids and families socialized. This is how I met Brett Kavanaugh, the boy who sexually assaulted me. During my freshman and sophomore school years, when I was 14 and 15 years old, my group of friends intersected with Brett and his friends for a short period of time. I had been friendly with a classmate of Brett's for a short time during my freshman and sophomore year. And it was through that connection that I attended a number of parties that Brett also attended. We did not know each other well, but I knew him and he knew me. One evening that summer, after a day of diving at the club, I attended a small gathering at a house in the Bethesda area. There were 4 boys I remember specifically being at the house: Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, a boy named PJ, and one other boy whose name I cannot recall. I also remember my friend Leland attending. I do not remember all of the details of how that gathering came together, but like many that summer, it was almost surely a spur-of-the-moment gathering. I truly wish I could be more helpful with more detailed answers to all of the questions that have and will be asked about how I got to the party and where it took place and so forth. I don't have all the answers, and I don't remember as much as I would like to. But the details about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget.
All right, so let me just stop there for a second. It's important that she points out that, look, there are some things that I don't remember. So now, if it's a Democrat smear job, as a lot of the political commentary on the right has been saying, like all these commentators, like, oh, purely political Democrat smear machine, well, then that's pretty bad. Because she's admitting, look, there's stuff that I don't know, there's stuff that I don't remember. Well, no, if this is a politically motivated smear job, then she would have all that stuff already laid out, and all that stuff supposedly, that she was supposedly coached on, right? No, this is somebody who I think did go through an incredibly traumatic experience. And when you go through a traumatic experience, as was pointed out later on in the hearings, you don't always remember everything. You don't always remember the small details, but you certainly remember the big ones. And as far as the details go, Dr. Blasey Ford remembers quite a few of them. In fact, this is what she remembers from the assault. Continue.
They have been seared into my memory and have haunted me episodically as an adult. When I got to the small gathering, people were drinking beer in a small living room, family room type area on the first floor of the house. I drank one beer. Brett and Mark were visibly drunk. Early in the evening, I went up a very narrow set of stairs leading from the living room to a second floor to use the restroom. When I got to the top of the stairs, I was pushed from behind into a bedroom across from the bathroom. I couldn't see who pushed me. Brett and Mark came into the bedroom and locked the door behind them. There was music playing in the bedroom. It was turned up louder by either Brett or Mark once we were in the room. I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated, and because I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me. Both Brett and Mark were drunkenly laughing during the attack. They seemed to be having a very good time. Mark seemed ambivalent, at times urging Brett on, and at times telling him to stop. A couple of times I made eye contact with Mark and thought he might try to help me, but he did not. During this assault, Mark came over and jumped on the bed twice while Brett was on top of me. And the last time that he did this, we toppled over and Brett was no longer on top of me. I was able to get up and run out of the room. Directly across from the bedroom was a small bathroom. I ran inside the bathroom and locked the door. I waited until I heard Brett and Mark leave the bedroom, laughing, and loudly walk down the narrow stairway, pinballing off the walls on the way down. I waited, and when I did not hear them come back up the stairs, I left the bathroom, went down the same stairwell, through the living room, and left the house. I remember being on the street and feeling an enormous sense of relief that I had escaped that house and that Brett and Mark were not coming outside after me. Brett's assault on me drastically altered my life. For a very long time, I was too afraid and ashamed to tell anyone these details. I did not want to tell my parents that I, at age 15, was in a house without any parents present, drinking beer with boys. I convinced myself that because Brett did not rape me, I should just move on and just pretend that it didn't happen.
Okay. So that is incredibly powerful testimony. So look, I know we've had the transcript, right, of this statement since earlier this week. But to listen to that, to listen to her voice, to watch her deliver this statement, you actually start to understand the gravity of what this really means. You start to see, like, you get what she's what she went through. You can hear the emotion in her voice. If you don't believe her, I don't know. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't believe her. But look, to let you know more about the impact that she had, she also mentioned later on, and how this stays. You know, victims of this assault have the assault stay with them for the rest of their lives. The reason that this came up, that she told her husband, because her husband didn't know anymore. She, as she said before, she didn't want to tell anybody. There was all this shame, which comes along with a lot of sexual assault. And I hate to say it, that unfortunately, many of the victims, the women who have had this happen to them, somehow feel ashamed because it happened, because somebody took advantage of them. It is a horrifying thing. So she eventually tells her husband, and the reason that this came up, and this is actually part of her testimony as well. Later on, she said, look, one piece of proof that I have is that I had told my therapist in a couples counseling session. Why did that come up? It's because when they were remodeling their house, and this is how deeply ingrained this situation was, she wanted a second front door built into her house. Now, a lot of people think, what? A second front door? Why would you need one of those? That's a weird request. Her husband couldn't understand it. Like, I don't understand. We have one front door. One front door is good enough. Why do we need a second front door? Well, it's because it's one of those things where that assault has always prompted her to want to have a second escape route because of the way that she ended up having to leave that house. I need an escape route. I need a second one. And unfortunately, that didn't help her, as she was, since this came out, she was chased from her home, from that home with the second escape route. That's devastating. Absolutely devastating. And look, everything about that is incredibly devastating. The fact that she claims that Kavanaugh, you know, put his hand over her mouth so that she couldn't scream, so that she couldn't get away, and that she kept eyeing Mark. By the way, Mark Judge is basically hiding in a beach house somewhere. Like, oh, no, me? No, I didn't have anything to do with this. I refuse to testify. I refuse to say anything other than, oh, I didn't do it. I refuse to take part in any sort of hearing or to be investigated at all. No, I'm not interested in it. That's the guy who supposedly could have jumped in and helped, but instead was laughing with his buddy, with his friend, about nearly raping a woman. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. This is an incredibly powerful testimony, and also incredibly damning as well. Why they don't have Mark Judge come and testify, why the Republicans are not saying, yes, let's have the FBI investigate. Why Judge Kavanaugh is not saying, I would like an investigation. Because if Mark Kavanaugh didn't do it, then he would absolutely need to clear his name, because these are very, very specific and very serious accusations. If somebody came out and made those accusations against me, I'd be like, yes, investigate. Absolutely, because I know I didn't do it. I want all the facts. I want it without a shadow of a doubt that I did not do it. I want that out there. So yes, do the investigation. And it is telling that the Republicans are not interested in doing an investigation, that Kavanaugh himself has not so far called for an investigation. As far as I know right now, he has not done so, and it kind of makes you wonder why. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.